Hello and welcome to This Contains Garlic. You're here with your host George Garlic
Mark Garlic.
and we are here talking to you again after another period of silence, the silent night, we shall say. Why is that, and why do I think it's relevant to even tell you why we haven't done a podcast? Is because we're going to kind of relate it back to what we're talking about on the podcast today, which is we
Very
just
deep.
haven't prioritized it. I think sometimes we all live in denial. Okay, we've been busy, it's good, work's good, whatever, things are progressing, but the podcast has always been probably like our favourite form of content to produce because it just seems just a lot more natural, easy for us to do, organic, well, one would say. And so we have taken it upon ourselves to make sure that once a week we will be recording. Hopefully, nothing gets in the way, and our excuses can lay to rest. But anyway, today we are talking about a lot of people say to us they don't have time, and we're going to talk you through what, Mark Garlic?
I feel like that was such a fitting start to the podcast.
Oh my God, are you writing notes?
Yeah, I am writing. I'm literally writing down what you've just said, dictating it note for note. No, I feel like we're just going to address the age-old excuse of not having time to prioritize one self-care habits, prioritize
What's
certain,
important?
yeah, just what's important and how that excuse can just be holding you back from achieving something pretty substantial.
I think, to be honest with you, I think it. I was having a conversation with a client the other day about this, and it was the fact that she was like, she's amazed at how much time people have per day to put into wellness, do you know what I mean? Into like just looking after themselves, whether that's like going to the gym or doing like cryotherapy or like doing any of that. She was just amazed at how many people could like have that much mental capacity for like health and wellness. And I was like, I mean, that's an interesting point because at what point do we need to be like absolutely micro analyzing our health every single day of our life? Like, you know, is it slightly consuming on the old brain? And because a lot of people have an all or nothing mindset to most things, they think that, you know, actually just to make the smallest adjustments, it's going to take like the largest amount of effort when actually it's not. So I think there's, you know, obviously there's always anomalies, people that, well, one, have got the time availability and affordability to invest into wellness. You know, I would say that that stems probably for a lot of our in-person clients, that's where the demographic would sit. But it's not to say that, you know, it all comes back down to what's important to you, you know.
Yeah.
And Mark was discussing the other day actually with one of his clients. She effectively said to him, I don't have time to track. And this was technically, if you think about the profile of the client, somebody that wanted to lose weight, you know, didn't feel in such a good control with nutrition, didn't feel in control of the movement on a day-to-day basis, so needed some kind of intervention to bring her in line. And I guess this is where I'm going to move to Mark. Like, the conversation obviously went to, I don't have time to track, and Mark obviously came back with what, Mark?
So, I mean, like everybody, everyone deems themselves to be incredibly busy. Everyone's busy in their own right, depending on what their lifestyle and what their work-life balance is like. And we all have this preconceived notion that we don't have time to just implement very basic, simple self-care habits. So, conversation went like Georgia pretty much said, I don't have time to do that. And my retort to her was, just how much time do you spend on a day-to-day basis just thinking about where you are in terms of your health, what you look like, comparing yourself to previous versions of yourself, and all the other negative connotations of carrying that certain mental narrative on a consistent basis? Like, how much time in the day do you sit there and just ponder and think negatively about yourself because of the current position that you're in? And she was like, geez, I spend, a couple of hours a day thinking about it, and it gets me really down and I feel a certain way about it. So I was like, so realistically, if you sat down and tracked your calories, it's never really going to take you longer than 15 minutes a day.
Well, I think it's not even. I think
But
it's the whole thing. It's not even about the
that.
tracking.
It's framing people's perceptions, because when you kind of show a different kind of perspective to, you know, the mental and physical plight of their own personal kind of journeys, then, you know, being able to reestablish a different perspective is...
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it's incredibly important to make sure that you're actually picking up on the narrative of actually, you know what, you'd be surprised how many people sit on our social media a day and tell us they don't have time, and I'm like, you're literally the first one looking at my story. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not that we can't see you. You literally sat on social media 24/7. You know, it's just exactly the same as somebody saying to me, I can't prioritize my sleep. You know, I'm really poor quality sleep. Like, I go to bed really early, but I just can't fall asleep. And then you kind of analyze it, and it's like, you're literally on your phone for like 6 hours in bed scrolling. Like, why do you expect to be having a good quality night's sleep if you literally lie there on your phone at night? But sometimes I think, you know, a lot of our job is pointing out the obvious. Like, I've always said this, like, some people are like, oh yeah, like, yeah, that actually makes like a lot of sense. And you're like, yeah, and you know what? It's actually so straightforward, and you know, that's the reason why I think, you know, it's quite, you know, it's not sexy, is it? Do you know what I mean? Like, trying to sell, like, you know, somebody actually having to give a fuck. Do you know what I mean? Like, literally, it's not sexy. It's like, please pull yourself towards yourself and have a coach and like make progress, and you know what I mean? Like, it's not an easy sell for people. A lot of people don't feel like they need professional help. To get somewhere, but I also come back to the point of like where we come into place. It's like a spider diagram. Fuck, I love a spider diagram. But you know, if you, just like in any kind of service orientated business, you know, if you want the best, you know, you're going to hire the best to help you. You know, that's the aim of the game. Like, if you're doing really well in business, you're going to hire somebody that's more successful than you to potentially mentor you in other aspects. The same as, you know, if you're planning a wedding and you literally want somebody to take the reins and create this like insane event with all the supplies and stuff like that, you're going to get a wedding planner. And it's exactly the same with, you know, a lot of people say they don't have time because they literally don't know what they're doing. They have no structure. It's like a complete, like, well, I guess a clusterfuck, to be quite honest with you. And every time you're like, yeah, I can do this, I'll do this, I'm just going to cut out that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
Frantic.
You still don't have any accountability, point one. And second of all, like, you know, it's just totally and utterly unrealistic to a day-to-day life where, you know, then you kind of waste time going round in fucking circles, do you know what I mean? When you could just go in a straight line, straight, direct, okay, non-linear, like, line. If you're going to go on a weight loss journey, it's not going to be linear, but like no journey is linear. You're going to have the humps in the road, but you know, it's a direct path to like know that you have the support to get like X to Y, rather than being like, you know, I remember when I was really overweight, I'd be like, oh, I'm just going to buy into another program, I'm just going to buy in, I'm just going to try this, I'll try that, like so desperate for an answer. And then it actually was like, do you know what? I'm going to have to apply myself here consistently. And like, you know, it kind of got to the point where it was like, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, which is most of these unsustainable methods are not very enjoyable, you know, the same as like, I have clients that are like, oh, I think I need to force myself to run. And I'm like, you don't need to force yourself to run if you don't enjoy it, just because it's a trend now. Do you know what I mean? I was like, what do you enjoy movement-wise? And they're like, oh, actually, I quite like strength training. It's like, well, just do that then. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, you don't have to...
I feel like the fear of missing out overrides everyone's common logic.
Yeah, I feel like it's not necessarily missing out. It's like, it's obviously things that are trending. And like, you know, if a lot of people are bringing light to certain subjects, like running's mega at the moment, because obviously all the influencers are running with their phones, like zoomed out, you know what I mean? Trotting along, like doing 26 kilometres before you've even like opened your eyes on a Sunday, do you know what I mean? They've even run via Gales and brought breakfast back to their wife, do you know what I mean? Like, the reality is that's
cute.
so unrealistic. No, everyone does it for themselves. Like, I know that if you ran via Gales, you just pick up a few cinnamon rolls yourself and you'd literally leave me high and dry.
Would I?
Babes, you literally don't get me things unless I ask you. And then you come back with like a Diet Coke in the car. I'm like, oh, I'm not thirsty then. And you're like, oh yeah, sorry. And so
That makes me sound very inconsiderate, though.
sometimes you are quite inconsiderate, Mark. Sometimes
I'm
you're not
sorry.
inconsiderate, but sometimes you are.
I'm sorry.
Mark started obviously
I'll do
loading
better.
and washing up properly in the right way.
I'll
Although
do
I did
better.
come home from London today to see that there was like a multitude of glasses being washed up, which I was a bit like, you've definitely loaded the dishwasher like a dickhead, haven't you?
I've rammed it
It's like, we
full.
never use that much fucking shit. Why is it all being washed up? Who knows?
I feel bad now. I'll do better.
Well, you're not going to go on a 26-kilometre run on a Sunday morning via Gales.
I'm gonna have to
are you?
now.
Fuck, you're going to be
Gonna
running a
have to
long
run-
way
I'll
for
have to get
Gales.
to the
Like-
nearest
oh wait,
Gales,
no,
which is-
Guildford. Guildford would be Gales.
Yeah, that's far. That's miles. So 14, isn't it 14?
14 miles. Don't be so ridiculous, is
No,
it?
I don't know. It's 14
Probably
minutes.
is, yeah, actually, maybe. No, anyway. But yeah, no, I think it's one of these things where I think people, the day in the life, going back off of that, actually, the day in the life that people create and then people envision, do you know what I mean? It's just not realistic. And I think, that's why people are like, I just don't have time for this. When actually, logically speaking, generation, even, like I say, baby boomer generation X, is it X?
I have no idea.
Where my parents are, X, Generation X. Then it's then it's us.
You can't say it. Say it.
Don't, Mark, don't.
Say the word.
Okay, so I've always really struggled to say the word.
Say it.
Mark, you're making. I've got a stutter now. You're actually making.
Stutter.
Millennial.
Millennial. What's a millennial?
Oh, shut the fuck up! Did I just say that?
Yeah, you said millennial.
Millennial. Like, I can't say it. I've never
Millennial.
been able to say. Remember when the Millennium Stadium in London
Not
was?
the millennium. It's not the millennium. It's
Can you
the
say it then?
millennium.
Millennium.
Yes.
Millennium. Yeah, I can't.
There
It's
we
just
go, better.
what? Millennium. Like, I just can't say it.
You go millennium.
Do you remember when the Millennium Stadium was open in London? I've always struggled since then. That was the year 2000, wasn't it? Because that's the millennium.
Yeah, it sounds. Millennium sounds better.
Yeah, to be fair, like
Millennium.
Millennium. Is that it? Millennium.
Yeah, the millennium.
No, we said it too
quite,
much.
Yeah, it's quite a hard. It is a tough word. It's a bit of a tongue twister.
Sometimes my head goes like an explosion. Like when I'm by
Millennium.
myself, like driving, I start saying words like over repeat, like cow. And then I'm like, oh my God, it's
Yeah.
such a weird word, like cow.
Yeah.
Cow.
Cow.
Cow. And then I'm
what
like,
do cows
Jesus, what's
drink?
wrong with you?
What do cows drink? What do cows drink?
Water.
Oh, well done.
Oh my God, do you think I was going to say milk? Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Ha 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 ha. Lactose free.
That's my dad joke.
Oh my God, was that actually your dad joke? Anyway, going back to not having time, because I don't have time for your dad jokes.
Yeah.
I think we should talk about like how you actually like start to assess your life and your priorities in a way which makes you happy. And I think you've got to weigh it up in all your life, not just your health and fitness. I think you need to understand that, for example, if you have like a really distressed mindset, like if we take our client, for example, a really distressed mindset based off of how they viewed themselves, how the weight was affecting them, how they, I guess their confidence, their pain, their body aches, all of these things, if we take that as a situation, that's a pretty big priority to sort out if it's creating such mental, consumptions. And I think, how do you put into structure or into play when somebody literally doesn't have any structure in not only potentially what they do in exercise wise, but they have no structure in how they eat, how they run their life, like the timings of things, and everything feels like you're chasing your tail between your legs. And I always say to people, like, that's why you always have to view, I guess, a journey like long term, because like, yes, you need mini goals, but you are going to always end up chasing your tail between your legs if you're striving to like,
Yeah.
for a
And
quick...
I feel like the way, and it sounds a bit biased, but I feel like the way that we kind of tackle the situation is the most logical way of doing that for an individual who really struggles with, creating structure or accountability in their own day-to-day lifestyle by, what is the first step that we do with individuals, and it starts with enlightenment through education of the basics.
Yeah, I think more so it's about understanding a client's lifestyle, understanding the demands of that lifestyle,
Yeah, very
understanding
true.
that kind of person. You know, we are one to very much know the difference between people and individuals. We deal with, a range from people that are very, very much spoon fed, where we literally manage everything in their lifestyle, and it's a very premium service, and they're coached all day, every day, and, managed in a way where they are in line. And then we have people that are pretty self-sufficient who are then given structured by us in which targets to follow. And I think, it really comes down to who are you as a person, as to where do you fit in the realms of like, I need to be pulled out of fucking bed to like, I can do this pretty much myself. And then you kind of think, right, okay, so in anything in life, you're going to, when you put structure in place, some things are not necessarily going to have to give, but you're just going to have to find time for them. And so I would always say that some things, obviously, you would need to sacrifice on a day-to-day basis.
I agree.
A lot of people say to me, oh, especially in the corporate world, like, oh, I don't really have much time, and they're like busy out for drinks on a Thursday evening. And I'm like, well, you've got time to go and fucking booze, like literally in the evening, and then wake up feeling like shit on Friday when you could have gone to the gym or done something productive. Do you know what I mean? And then you're probably going to eat shit all day because you're hungover. Like it's all these things where you have to look at like just exactly how I take nutrition. Some people say to me, oh no, I'm not going to do a full weekly shop. It doesn't make any sense. In fact, like it's too expensive to do like, a full bulk shop. And I'm like, okay, let's add up what you ate today. Do you know what I mean? You've gone, to Pret, you've eaten that, you've gone to M&S, you've had lunch out, you've picked up a coffee, you've had a matcha latte, you've had like an oat biscuit, then you've picked up another, you know what I mean? And by the time you know it, you've literally spent 40 or 50 quid, like literally. Yeah. And then you say to me that like you don't have the energy or the time to go and weekly shop. Like, do you know how much time it's spent when you're not prepped? That's also mental consumption. When you're not prepped with food, fuck, it's, as I say, clusterfuck. Yeah. Complete clusterfuck. You go in there, what should I eat? Oh my God, my digestion's going to get a surprise. Do you know what I mean? Oh God, no, oh fuck, I'm lactose intolerant now because I've shat myself after eating something that my body doesn't have regularly. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the truth about like food, in my opinion.
Or like even just ordering something and waiting for 45 minutes for it to arrive. Do you know
or like going out for like, okay, unless you're like on the corporate biz vibes, do you know what I mean? Where you're going out for lunch and you're being hosted at the Ivy, the reality is you could be prepped. Like, there's people that can manage to do it. It's just a matter of priorities. So if you get home, but I also think it comes down to a level of energy as well. And another discussion I was having with a client the other day is that you can't expect people to imagine a lifestyle that they've never ever lived, or the energy. Like, so if you say to somebody like, imagine what you'd feel like if you just did this, it's like, well, I can't. Do you know what I mean? My lifestyle is the complete opposite. They've never necessarily felt optimal, so trying to sell like vitality and optimal health and fucking energy is just not really one to ride home about, but like the reality is your energy levels and vitality get a huge amount better when less mental drainage on the on overthinking about your thing, your day-to-day life and what you should be doing, and it's also planned as well, so you've got more energy for other things. Like, it's so taxing, honestly. And when you sit back and you go, fuck, do you know what? I do actually think about it on a day-to-day basis a lot. Maybe when you pass a mirror, like, which could be...
Or your clothes don't fit you properly.
Or, like, you feel uncomfortable in the workplace, just, like, standing there and just feeling like, you don't necessarily have the confidence to, I don't know, shine. They do say that, stuff like posture, pain, weights, like gain in the sense of that is that one of the biggest like confidence knocks, as people age in the workplace. So like your potential is just not going to come through when you don't have the confidence to stand and feel. And so a lot of people do hold themselves back in that element. And this is not me saying one needs to roam around with a six-pack in any way.
No.
But one does need to give a fuck.
I think it comes down to it just being relative to that individual, because again, not everybody's going to be genetically disposed to be having a six-pack or being, 6'4" and 10% body fat, but it's all relative. Like for an individual that is able to, I don't know, just do a deadlift with 60 kilos would get so much confidence boosting relative to somebody doing something slightly more impressive relative to their own strength. But it's just the act of constantly challenging yourself.
I think also what I'd like to say is that, like, a lot of people say they don't have time for this shit, or they don't have money for this shit. That's also a fucking load of shit for a lot of people. That is like the whole eating is so expensive. Eating anything right now is expensive. We went out for a meal the other day. It was like £80 per head for like one course and like fucking Diet Coke. It was like, what the fuck? Like, honestly. And then that's the reason why, like, I just get so much more for my money at home, and I know that I'm going to eat really, really well, really well.
I never understood how people can literally go and pay for rounds and pay for a whole bunch of other shit and then say that they literally haven't got money to, at least cater towards their own self-preservation.
It's also interesting when a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't need this anymore. Yeah, no, I don't need this anymore. And it's like, I'm just going to stop everything. And it's like... what the fuck's the point of that? It's the same as, like, I say to people when it comes to quick fixes and, I'm going to transform my body and in 8 weeks time I'm going to be like a fucking hench as fuck and lean and all of this, and it's like, yeah, but what do you do afterwards when you've literally maintained the result for like 2 weeks and then it goes away, and then you've literally had to sacrifice 8 miserable weeks of like huge amounts of sacrifice for it to last like 2 weeks before you go and fuck yourself because you haven't learned anything in the process.
But a lot of people find pride in that because, again,
I
hate to stereotype,
but
when you speak to, let's say, you take 9-10 women off the street, the vast majority of them will say, oh, I want to look like how I looked like on my wedding day. The vast majority of women leading up to their wedding, like, starve themselves.
Yeah, with our target.
Everything's super unsustainable. But even though they ground themselves into the ground and felt like death, they still have kind of like wear it with a badge of honor.
Yeah, I mean, but then it's also the same as like a man having the photo of him topless on the beach when they were 12, do you know what I mean? And it's like 55, and it's like, what the fuck?
Chasing the pill when he was like 18.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not, look, I absolutely, I've had some, and we do have some absolutely amazing male clients, okay? Yeah. But we were talking about this the other day because... I mean, like, men do have a level of ignorance when it comes to things, like, and it's actually painful.
It's a combination of ignorance and the lack of being humble enough to accept constructive, not criticism, just any form of just any one guidance. Iota of just like.
They just know better. Yeah. That's the thing. They supposedly know better.
Yeah, it's very fascinating.
But yeah, I do say, I mean, I just think there is a level, like, and I think we've worked with enough men to know that it's sometimes really, really, really hard to coach them, like, because you're just but they're there.
The stereotype is like grumpy old men, essentially. Do you know what I mean?
It's because your testosterone's on the floor. So
yeah, it's to the point where they're like set in their ways and they're like a tortoise and they're just not moving. Do you know what I mean?
It's like also the ignorance. Like, I go back to our gym, for example. Oh God, do you know what I mean? Oh God, I fucking hate it. Sorry. It just drives me insane. I'm just around, just like, it's just not vibes. Like, it's just not my vibes. But, it's like when a man says to you, like, oh, so, like, I'm doing something like a chest passover, I'm just warming up, yeah? Obviously, I've got great flexibility because I spent my whole fucking life doing it, do you know what I mean? Like, so my arms are swinging over my head, no problem. And they've just got such ignorance. It's like, oh, yeah, what's that? What are you doing? And it's like, I'm just warming up, just opening up my chest and shoulders. So good for the old shoulder health, And I'm like, why don't you do something like that? Because you've got literally the most bent dinosaur arms I've ever seen. And they're like a T-Rex. And they're like, oh no, long gone, stupid, won't work for me. And I'm just like, you're so ignorant. Like, I hope you fall off the fucking preacher curl machine. Because...
No, but they say that and then they sit and they watch and then copy exactly what you're doing.
I know, it's absolutely hilarious.
So it's like, maybe it's subconscious, but it's like, you know, I always watch from a distance because I find it very entertaining. But there's always that level of just assertion. I am a man and I know more than a woman when it comes to
To exercise.
weights
Well, not
or
when you've got biceps the size of mine.
but it's very fascinating to
People just like are astounded in that place. I don't know what. Look, I've been going through a moment of reflection. In fact, I did. We were going through a moment of reflection earlier. I think, sometimes it's really weird. I don't ever really reflect back on like maybe like what I've achieved or maybe what I look like now or like maybe where I've got to. And sometimes it's quite uncomfortable because like you maybe never been in that position before.
I'm very sorry to interrupt you, but we have to discuss about the comment that was given to you when we were on holiday.
Oh, this is the thing. Okay, so I'm going to just give you a bit of a background here.
Yeah, give us the background.
At the moment,
give us a bit of a.
So I am probably now like the most muscular, in lean shape I've ever have been in my whole entire life. Okay, I'm also really quite strong. I just don't normally show it that much. I mean, like, and sometimes it's quite hard to say that, but like, yeah, I lift a lot of weight. Do you know what I mean? And I train really hard, and I have a level of obsession over it in some way or another. And I guess I'm not afraid to say that, but I've not always been like that in any way, shape or form. And I think, there's always stigma behind like what a trainer like looks like. And for like years of our life, like, and our job, all I ever had, like, and this is honestly the driving factor behind it. And it might sound ridiculous to most,
yeah.
But me and obviously Mark and I have worked together for a long period of time now. And everybody always used to be like, oh, Mark's the trainer, because I never really looked like what the stereotypical trainer would look like. Obviously, I used to be very, very overweight, but I didn't. Then I lost a lot of weight and I just looked normal. Do you know what I mean? But I wouldn't say that it was something that was impressive or looked like I went to the gym regularly. And that's me being really honest. And so now having worked fucking hard, do you know what I mean, and got myself to a position where I am now, like I'm in a very different position. And it's not something I've spoken about with anybody. I've not even shown but I had a moment where I just thought, oh my God, is this too much? Because now I'm like, people are like very much noticing the opposite to what I've ever had noticed, do you know what I mean? Which is going to what Mark said in St. Lucia. Oh God, it was.
Please, can you just explain to everybody what happened?
No, we went to this street festival, which was a bit of a con because this taxi driver like conned us out. He didn't. He was really nice, Marshall. That's really rude. But it was like he kind of was like, oh, there's this amazing street party. Like it's like 2 hours away, and like we paid like a fuck ton of US dollars to obviously get a taxi all the way there, and it worked out. It was just like a load of stray dogs and like people that had like mental issues on the street, and like so much weed being sold. Obviously amazing, woo woo. And then drinks and like the music was meant to start. And I think they get like all the tourists there and they kind of just like con you out of loads of shit. Anyway, Dad was eating like this random chicken kebab, like hilarious. Anyway, so we were walking down the street and the guy said to me, he said, oi, oi. He was like, I like your size. And I was like, for the first time in my whole life, somebody's literally just commented on my size. And I was like, oh my God, Mark, is that because I'm fat? Like literally. And Mark was like, no, it's because it's probably the first time he's ever seen like a woman with like arms like as muscular as you do. And I guess I was a bit like, what the fuck? And I guess we all go through things like this. And I think it's good to like always share the fact that like it's not something I'm very comfortable like being able to share like via social media is like I think I said to Mark, so many people are so interested in how
it's just so weird to see a woman with lots of muscle mass.
Yeah, and look, at the moment I've got a lot of it, like, and it's like a little bit. Sometimes I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how did I get here?
But
and
then
I'm
like that it shouldn't be a bad thing because
no, it's not. But I have moments where I think I don't fit the stereotype.
If you think about it, right? If you look at a woman's physiology, the hormonal profile is there, the tolerance for pain is there, the tolerance for working harder. Essentially, women train harder than men. Historically, through my career, that's been the case. You've got, what else have you got? You've got relatively strong with regards in terms to body weight. And you've also got like the internal narrative of a woman who constantly self-analyzes everything to the 9,000th degree, which drives them to always look after themselves with regards to their self-care and are more receptive to, coaching and taking on and implementing self-care habits. So why shouldn't women be super muscular?
Yeah, I think there's a fine line, obviously. I think there's a worry sometimes, like for example, I was saying to Mark, like in the clothes that I feel comfortable in, like I look and feel very good at the moment in sports kit because it's fucking exactly what, like, my kind of physique should be in on a day-to-day basis. But, like, go and put me in a dress, like, I almost feel like...
I mean, some of
I
them
look
are,
like
some of
fucking
them are
like
fully-
Jesus. Like,
Yeah, but again,
is
it's
it?
because it doesn't cater to, because again, like,
I don't want to feel it. To be honest with you, all I'm saying is, you are one stereotype, which is normally very, very overweight. Then you fit this as normal category. You just fit normal category. Okay, it's not to say that I didn't strength train, but I also have to say that, like, I was so burnt out in, like, our London, when we were working capacity 1-to-1 in gyms in London, where, like, it was to the point where I didn't have the time, the nutrition, the element, I just, in the sense of, like, I just didn't have the time for training. Like, so when I did train, it was like 45 minutes as fucking condensed as possible. There was not necessarily a massive drive on progressive overload. It was just like, just move your body because, how are all your clients moving their bodies in strength and conditioning fucking sessions and then you're not able to even get a session in? There was the worst feeling being a fucking trainer when your client arrived early and you were in that one break you'd have all day. Like, and look, we worked for ourselves. We made shit tons of money. It was fabulous. We had a great business, but fuck me, did we work ourselves into the ground, and we never gave ourselves any time. We'd come back at like 9-10 in the evening with no dinner.
Is that an excuse?
No, we're making fucking dollar bills. That's not a fucking excuse. Do you know what I mean? You're going to take the money, not
Yeah,
the
but
fucking...
the whole point of this podcast is about people saying they don't have time for prioritizing self-care, and they...
No, we
and they
made
would
the
just-
time for it, but we didn't, in the sense of a working capacity. Like a lot of people,
Well,
for
I
example, that
assume
we
some
train...
people wouldn't even have done it. So
Think
you're
about
saying
like
that.
some of our online clients who have got like minimum 70-hour weeks sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Like, and like the reality is that they're still making time. They just got to be smarter. And sometimes
very
in life, you
smart.
just got to be a bit smarter. Do you know what I mean? As I said, you can't be ignorant. You just need to be smarter. And, realise that, with time is of the essence. Myself and Mark have to be sometimes very diligent because we run our own business. If we're having days where we're not training people, normally most of it's done like morning or whatever, like into the afternoon we'll have virtual whatever, but like if say we're having a time where we go to the gym and we have maybe either side, it is still working hours, but maybe we have like an extra hour or so like either side, like it's very easy for us to like literally just drag it into fucking like a long period of time. And so we have to be very diligent in being like, no, smart with time, like do your training sessions, don't fucking prolong being in the gym. Like we love being in the gym, so that's probably the reason. Not that I'd like going to that gym, but like I like being in the gym because I'd obviously love lifting. So, and I said to Mark, we could probably be in the gym for like 3 fucking hours easily.
Quite easily.
And it sounds really sad, and people are like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm not really sure, but
Yeah, I think we've gone past
you're
the point.
fucking mentally not okay."
Yeah, I think we've gone past the point of being normal, which is fine. It's just our niche. It's what we've done and what we continue to do on a day-to-day basis, and we find a lot of value in it. And we just wish a lot more people, a lot of other people would, because just the health benefits from, carrying muscle mass are far more profound than people, understand. Like, you can be a relative normal weight, but if you have a low amount of muscle mass, your internal markers like your blood glucose and your insulin sensitivity and stuff can still be really, really bad if you don't have a decent amount of muscle mass.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and the more and more the science is coming out, it's like the real precursor to, living a long life where you've got availability due to joint mobility, you've got availability to muscular strength, to live a long, prosperous life, well into your latter years, comes down to muscle mass. And it's not coming from you doing yoga. It's not coming from you doing Pilates or
No.
or jumping around doing, mountain
Yeah,
climbers.
the Pilates.
Unfortunately, and it's not like we're sitting here. It's the research has been done. We've had practical application helping people over decades, and it's just something that is super effective and is infinitely scalable. Hence the reason why we consistently bang on about it, because it is literally the only thing, the holy grail to pretty much if you want to get better at sports, you got to lift weights. If you want to look younger, you got to lift weights. If you want to, you know what I mean, you want to get more confident, you got to get stronger by lifting weights.
Yeah, but you know what it is that like, I guess we're in the epitome of like influence in the years at the moment. And I think like at the moment there's trends like that it always is in the industry. And I feel like strength training was a big trend in the midlife, I guess, age ranges.
Sure.
And then I've seen like, just because so many people have obliterated it, like as fucking always, and it just does piss me off. Right now in our kind of like clientele market, like it's Pilates. And look,
Yeah,
Pilates,
I
like
get it.
everything, is going to come down to the instructor or the person taking it.
Exactly.
Some people will know what they're talking about. Others would have done like a 3-week course and fucking put it in their bio, like live life, laugh, stretch, long and lean, do you know what I mean? And claim that they're like a Pilates master.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, that I just don't really like is that it's kind of consumed the fact that like everybody feels that they need to do that because they're now selling Reformer Pilates as being building muscle. So because obviously it's a catchy word, like girls want to, women want to, need to build lean muscle tissue. So now all of these fucking exercise whatever, Pilates, are all now selling it as muscle building classes, like build lean muscle tissue. It's like you're not doing that. Like, and I actually want to talk about the one thing that people go, yeah, but I really feel it. Oh my God. Right.
But again,
slowly but surely.
My opinion is if you're gonna do that, don't attach yourself to other benefits from other modalities of exercise. If you're going to promote Pilates, promote it for what it actually is.
Good
and then
for core
don't
strength.
Go out of your way to try and attach yourself to other things that are not
because now everything's classified as strength training. People are selling like 2 kg dumbbell classes for strength training. I'm like, bruv, I'm not as... you're like, we're both like, we're strength and conditioning coaches. No, we don't throw around 2 kilo dumbbells. We're not going to put you into some sliding, crossover backwards lunge punch in the air like thing with a band attached to your legs. Just not going to do that. Like, and we're also not going to make you fucking power lift. Like, we're not cunts. Do you know what I mean? But it's one of these things where it is kind of like crossing the paths of like how most people like don't really need to be like overthinking this shit. Do you know what I mean? They just need to be actioning things a little bit more regularly. But like there is purpose and there's not purpose. At the moment, I just think that for women, when we have trends like Reformer Pilates, it's wonderful. It's working your body, you're moving. But it's a very slim girl exercise. I'm sorry to say that. Like, all of my friends who are very slim, do you know what I mean? I wouldn't say that any of them hold relative muscle mass at all. Like, they're slim, like, they're Pilates, they're yoga, they're doing the bar, they're doing all of this. And they're feeling the muscles because it's burning. Fuck me, it's just a build-up of lactic acid. Why would you not understand? But, like, literally, and... the reality is that it's not very accepting to many other people, Pilates. I've never, and this is Southwest London, so look, stereotype how you want, but most people are not overweight in Southwest London. I would say most are pretty active in cities, do you know what I mean? They're more active than they are outside of cities.
You're trying to be very diplomatic without saying that in reality, when you go into these environments, your average person is weighing 65 kilos.
65, fucking drop it down 15,
Yeah,
about
yeah,
50
yeah.
kilos.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Like, and then
It
you'll have
is.
the odd one that feels a bit uncomfortable. Like, do you know what I mean? Because, you know, everybody, the same as is this whole thing of like, when was it normal for women to be completely undressed in a gym? Because, look, I said to, like, I could right now, really, if I wanted to, really start to clout my shit if I wanted to, okay, in the gym. But it brings me no other benefit than other than somebody who's like, oh my God, you're so goals, do you know what I mean? And I'm like, cool, like that's just made my fanny flutter for like 1 second and then I go back to my life, you know? And I almost think it's kind of like weird how it does make other women feel very uncomfortable. It also, do you know what it is? I've had so many women say to me, oh, a goal of mine is to be able to wear a sports bra in the gym confidently. And I'm like,
Why?
why? Like you don't, I don't.
Yeah.
I find it fucking disgusting touching all this stuff. Sorry, that's my own
Yeah,
thing.
it's very
Maybe you're not
unhygienic.
training hard enough. Maybe you're not amongst the
No,
weights
yeah,
in
it's
order to
very
say.
unhygienic.
But, you know, unless it is honestly like a sauna in there, like I don't need to get undressed.
Because I feel like it's just the barrier that everyone's being presented, where again people are looking to cement points of authority, trying to establish themselves within the industry, and the easiest thing for the general population to understand is just by looking at what that person looks like, what their physique looks like.
Yeah, and that's what I say when I said I didn't feel like the stereotypical
We know
trainer.
the vast majority, not so much now, but the early Instagram crew and stuff like that, none of those girls ever trained clients, none of those girls ever coached people, none of those girls had an understanding. Hence the reason why when they audited their nutritional books, all of them found out that they were lacking in nutritional coherence and that the recipes were deemed to be like unsafe for human consumption in terms of the macronutrients and the food pairings, because none of these people had a clue. The only thing that they had going for them was they looked a certain way. They lived in SW6. They lived the lifestyle, the rich girl lifestyle, you know, popping down to Megan's and having a brunch and blah, 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 and always having their rig out because they had nothing else to offer.
Yeah, but then it's become the point where that's the value, that's the starting point. If you don't have that to offer, like, are you taken seriously enough? Are people going to be interested? And I 150% believe that if you are going to have a profession in what I do or what you do, you need to be practicing that and actually love it and have a passion in it. And
Correct.
You know what I mean? The sense of what you like to do on a day-to-day basis outside of our job. Exactly the same as, you know, it's a weird job actually, ours, to be quite honest with you, because I would say that like a lot of times in many people's jobs, not to say that jobs don't burn you out or anything like that, but a lot of time there's quite a big disassociation between like your life and your job. And with us, there's a direct like link. Like you can't not show the lifestyle and expect, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the return in the sense of clients seeing you, or like, you know, the image you put out as a coach is what somebody buys into, because they're like, I need a piece of that lifestyle, and I see them living it and I see it on repeat and I enjoy seeing this, and they've done it, they've walked the walk. You know what I mean? Like, not many people get assessed on whether or not you can calculate things on a day-to-day basis if you're in fucking finance. Outside,
sure.
you know, you're not at the pub and somebody's like, oh mate, can you just work out the profit and loss of the fucking pub?
If we were like every Friday just like doing bags and like just like and going out and raving and like eating, you know,
fucking Domino's, which I'd love to eat.
People would be like,
That's
what are wrong with you two?
What's wrong with you? I mean, like, but it's the same as like, you know, if it's weird, isn't it? Because it's the same as like, as it's kind of like a teacher. Like there's teachers don't necessarily
you're, like,
bring them, but like
to a certain moral
code. Yeah, you're held to a moral code. You can't misbehave. Do you know what I mean? Like if you were seen like smoking as a personal trainer, where obviously a lot of people we know, like literally in the smoked because it was the one chance they could get out of the fucking gym or out of the thing and just fucking have a breather. Like remember, you're like the therapist to every single client. So you know, it's sometimes for your own life, it's just like, fuck, I just need a bit of a moment. If anyone's seen it, there's a meme of Ben Affleck just with a cigarette outside, like breathing out. That's literally like what a PT is. But, you know, God forbid, not that your clients, half of them didn't fucking smoke, literally.
Yeah.
That a client would see somebody who was of some moral high, you know what I mean, smoke. But it's like my grandfather, who was incredibly high up in the medical industry, you know, he smoked for years in his life, and actually for years on end, they told everyone it was great. Do you know what I mean? It's this whole weird thing where these, but it's all past of society's judgment. And what is society? Like, who is society? I'd love to know. You know, is society like literally like?
Or you, if you want to figure it out, just go to a gym's staff party end of year, and you'll figure it out. You'll see everyone's true nature.
But like the thing is though, like, you know, there's no look. The reality is there's most Christmas parties show the true characters of most employees of businesses.
I'll never forget, like, people would be like, oh, half, like 90% of the when we were working at that gym in Chelsea, 90% of the staff smoked, drank.
Man, there was one guy. There was one, like, no joke. He trained like some of the most like fucking wealthy, well-to-do, probably also alkies. Like clients, like I'm talking, and he literally was a pisshead. Like he would drink water, like vodka out of water bottles whilst training clients. He Mark found him on like the balcony of the terrace, completely knocked out. Like having to drag sleeping on the fucking balcony. Like this is in a high net worth, like most popular at the time, it's studio, like, you know, this was where everybody was, and that literally was accepted.
Everyone just assumes that all you do is just like eat chicken breasts and just pump weights all day long, and you live your life like a monk.
And it's just the opposite. You had no sleep. You've eaten 12 almonds and no protein. Literally.
This dude's on 14 Xanax, 2 bottles of gin, and hasn't slept for 6 days.
But he's still there training clients, and his clients still, for some reason, haven't noticed.
Nobody ever noticed. That was the weirdest thing. Everyone was like, "Hi, oh, he's so lovely," and they're like, "Yeah, I'm sure."
You're massive for some clients. You're a massive, massive part of their life, and those are the ones that obviously we have the best relationships with, closest. But some people, a lot of clients don't realize shit. There's some things you bring to light, and they're like, it's this whole thing where, again, disassociate. This is what I mean. Yeah. For us, when we're in the gym, we also think about work. That's also another thing.
The worst is when they tell you the same story 17 times.
Oh my God, because they don't think you've listened, but I listen to everything.
They're like, so we went to the south of France, and and you're like, you've told me this 14 times. You went and got a croissant. Yeah. Then you had this for lunch. You saw this person, you had a fight with that person, you had that for dinner, you did that the next day. We listened to absolutely everything.
Oh, guaranteed, if you've ever lied to us, in the sense of job, we know. Don't worry. It's just when we maybe just not brought a highlight to it.
Yeah,
that's what I always say.
We don't want to make it awkward.
We don't want to make it awkward, but we fucking know. The same as look, we listen to everything. I definitely do. I'm the most observant person. Christ, what I don't know is not worth knowing.
Yeah.
I should have a black book.
You'd be surprised how many times people, they kind of zone out of their own environment and they go into a daze and they just tell you things.
And you're just Jesus Christ.
You definitely shouldn't be saying this to me.
Yeah, literally, you're also are you aware you're in public right now? Sometimes you're even though it's probably a small studio or in a private, but look, to be honest with you, it's probably one of my favourite aspects of my job is knowing people, in the sense of knowing my clients.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely tick all the boxes.
I genuinely have it, I have a complete and utter, want and need to, know, observe, analyse, and, coach people. That's my definite thing. It's not I don't I love training people because I'm very good at training people in the sense of physically training them. Yeah. But my actual thing, coach the coaching.
If anybody knows anybody in what is it, MI6 or
my uncle.
Yeah, the ministry MOD, set us up a personal training studio in Russia or China, and Georgia will go and.
Do you think I wouldn't maybe beheaded within seconds?
You go and figure it out in 10 minutes.
Because always people used to say to me, do you know what? I think this is complete bullshit. You might not agree with this. Maybe. Well, You know, people used to say to me younger, yeah, but like Georgia would then go and tell people because she can't shut her mouth. Do you know what? Okay, well, I would say that that's actually not factually correct.
You are very good at keeping certain secrets, and then there are certain elements where you are a bit of a rat.
You fucking rats.
You're
What
a
are you
bit of a
talking about?
rat.
Not with any of my clients.
No,
I'm
not with your clients professionally, but there are certain elements.
Yeah, of course, I'm going to rat you out when you fucking annoy me.
You've
Do
just,
you know what I mean?
yeah, but
Well, like
again,
sometimes you need to be ratted out. You can't always behave like a 3-year-old, Mark.
no, you never rat out your partner in crime.
But you're not my partner in crime. I'd always be independent. Because again, I shouldn't be telling you shit that I know, should I? So you can't be my partner in crime.
Compartmentalize it, can I?
No, you can't.
You always need a right-hand man, though.
Yeah, somebody that maybe can offer me some coding or like break into things technologically. Can you do that? You've managed to press play on the new updated podcast.
Well, we're up and running.
Mark like said to me, he was like, "Oh fuck, they've updated the old."
Yeah, I had a dad
system.
moment.
Didn't know what he was doing when he was setting up the podcast.
I had a dad moment, yeah.
Yeah, literally. But no, I mean, look, like, as I said, I think that is the part where I very much do enjoy my job when it comes to is knowing shit. So yeah, I know a lot about a lot of people. Not a lot, like, you know, actually probably quite a lot.
It was
of
very
people.
satisfying putting, like, one part of our job can also be facilitating either things or facilitating experiences, because you could be like, there's a concert in town, you know somebody that owns a box, they might not be using the box, but then you know somebody that wants, do you know what I mean? But like that has been the case.
Yes, okay,
though.
but yeah, obviously.
Or, you know, are you selling tickets to a specific game and you like might know somebody who's playing?
What's your own little community?
Yeah,
It's
your own little black
community
book. And then like you have people that are like, I've tried to get this sorted, you know, whether it's within their own personal business or whether it's just like, I'm trying to sell something, I'm trying to do something. Would you know of anybody that would be interested? And then when you come through and you put you put it all together and you're like, do you know what? Some people just think that
you're such a bellend sometimes. I know we do that, but like honestly,
why? But this is the thing.
It's
like
you have all these
inspirational.
I just think
you have all
CEO.
these inspirational talks behind the scenes with like, we've really given up on, you know, telling people where we've come from and the experience
like
that
walked across the desert.
The experience that we. Yeah, but then don't say it.
No, but it's just but you don't always have to be like
this.
it's like
just
yeah.
sitting there,
it
Georgia
sounds,
comes
but
through after
a
she's had a
ridiculous.
shower and she's had an epiphany, and she's like, "We've worked in the industry and we've done 30,000 hours of coaching people and blah blah blah. We used to be known as the most renowned, the best trainers in Southwest London. Nobody knows us. We don't talk about it, so we need to. Here we are." We're talking about it.
Like, a lot of people do know us because, weirdly, you have a social media following, Mark, for some weird reason. But, like, yeah, that's weird,
Strong,
isn't it?
4,000, almost 5,000.
Not you. I'm not talking about yours. Is like a fucking dad's Instagram. Like, I've had a go at you about that. Like, but that being said, I am going to actually post more of my training because you girls need to see it, innit? Because you need to start lifting weights instead of going on the Reformer Pilates 4 times a week. Also, yeah, anyway. Not to say you can't do Reformer, but just lift weights.
Just
more.
lift weights more. That's all.
Yeah, but this is the thing. The demands of life, if we go back to why we're even having this conversation in the first place, is the demands of life can get in the way in the sense of scheduling and, you know, prioritising. But I also come round to the point, you know, we're talking about I don't have time at the moment, but it's also the same as, like, when people say, like, I can't seem to, like, control it on, like, a weekend or, like, you know, or like, I'm going out, like, 6 times this week, do you know what I mean? I need to go and rage at every single one. And it's like, the other day I said to a client, like, you have to, like, choose, like, to pick when you go overboard and don't give a fuck. Like, you can't in life always just fucking obliterate yourself every time that you have the ability to, like, act like a small toddler. Like, you know, you have to understand that sometimes I always weigh it up like this. Like, if you are wanting to see impressive results on the scale and your physique, and you want to consistently feel good and confident, there's obviously going to have to be some smart thought process behind that. And I think you've got to understand that when it comes to socializing or like having loads of celebrations, you've got to weigh up which ones are important, because there's going to be elements where you have to sacrifice, as I said, and then you have to weigh up, okay, where, because a lot of people say, I don't have time for this, when they don't necessarily get results, do you know what I mean? And things that can slow them down is what I'm talking about right now, because a lot of people say, well, I need to go, you know, oh, I went out for dinner and I went overboard, do you know what I mean? And then I did it the set again the next day and whatever. And it's like, there's a difference between your best friend's hen do, which has been planned for like a year and a half, and she's marrying her soulmate, and you're going to Vegas, and like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a moment where you'd be like, okay, I'm going to take like memories over macros here. But like when it comes to like your day to day, like, okay, your mate's just dropped you a message and it's just like, hey, do you want to go for a pizza and a glass of wine? Like, you don't need to go and completely just fuck yourself. You know, there's a difference between being, you have to be at some points in control, do you know what I mean? Because this is what can stop you, because then, of course, you don't have time for it. If you're not seeing results, you don't have time for anything. So you've got to bear in mind, to create more time and to prioritise things in your life, you have to see a return, you know what I mean? But to get that return, you actually then need to action something to get there. And I think consistently. I think it's so easy. People are like, oh, this time's just going to miraculously appear. No, you make time, and you'll make more time, and you'll make it more of a priority if you find something that, one, you can consistently do and that you enjoy and that you feel like you can keep up. But like, don't expect the time to miraculously come out of it. And as I said, if you've never produced a result and you've been going rebounding, okay, I'm just going to lose weight for a couple of weeks and then I'm just going to give up. And do you know what I mean? Don't think you're warranted, number one, but like, don't think you're going to ever find the time to go again, because it gets more and more deflating every time you do that approach.
But also the expectation of the time frame in which you expect to see progress. It's like, you know, one of our clients that we've been working on trying to get overall consistency higher, and after Georgia had a conversation and intervention, the consistency has picked up over the last 3 weeks, but the expectation is, you know, this massive body transformation. It's like you've only been consistent for 20 days.
Yeah, I mean, that happens a lot frequently with clients. It's like, can I just be honest with you? Like, most people come to us because we are the final time, because people don't come to us as they're like, very few people have ever come to us, very different in the in-person training, but like as their like first timer, do you know what I mean? Normally they've literally obliterated themselves, they hate everything, they don't know what's going to work, and then they end up with us, you know?
Yeah.
And we obviously guide them to like understand that this is how you're going to be able to achieve it and maintain it. But I think also, do you know how many people come to us and they've got so much shit like that they need to just get sorted, do you know what I mean? Like they really do. And they're busy thinking that like the last 10 years where they've consistently piled on like 5 kilos a year, like, you know, so that they can then just turn that fucking around in 4 weeks. Do you know what I mean?
And it's like, from a coaching perspective, when you see a person and you realize, okay, well, let's go through the checklist. They're not consistent with their nutritional habits, whether it's meal timings, food choices, they're not consistent at all. Their joints in their limbs struggle to withstand intense exercise. They're not moving, they're not sleeping properly. Like, it takes weeks and months just from a coaching perspective to get that person to break even. Do you know what I mean? Like, before you can even start contemplating the more nuanced elements and topics of certain things, where you're going into a consultation with somebody and they're like, oh, I need to cut out bread and I need to do that. And it's like, hold on a second. Before we get into, the macro influences of it, we need to realize that it's going to take 6 weeks, 6 months, just to be able to get your body moving properly, get you consistently eating, a balanced diet, eating consistent meals 3 times a day. Do you know what I mean? Like, it takes, people aren't cognizant of just how bad their own metabolic health is. And it takes so much time just to get that person just to like,
yeah, but
okay,
I also
we're ready
think
to start now type
but
scenario.
but I also think that comes back round to the thing of what we were talking about with I don't have time to track food. Like, where you get very bored and very monotonous and you give up and you don't think tracking works and it's just a fucking waste of time, is when you're wasting your time on it. You're not doing it properly. You might be adherent, do you know what I mean? Because you're like, oh, I'm tracking something, do you know what I mean? But you're just doing like a 60% job at it. So you're never really... And then you do that day after day, week after week. You're like, why am I not really seeing any progress? You're then like tracking shit. I don't have time for this because it hasn't worked. When actually the application you've put in is 60%. Just because you might have tracked something doesn't mean it's been optimal. And this, again, then demotivates you to do it again because you're like, it didn't fucking work. I don't have time for it. When actually, if you optimize, I say this to so many clients, we give you fucking a calorie target, like a nutritional target. It's so bespoke to you, your inputs, your outputs. We've spent, obviously, working that out. There's a reason why we give you that, do you know what I mean? Stick to that consistently for me for literally 7 days and you will answer all of your own fucking doubts, do you know what I mean? Because there's so many doubts of people, oh, it's not working, I haven't seen progress, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, look, you're not anywhere fucking close. There's the reality check. You're going to tire yourself out from tracking. You're going to start to hate it. You're then going to fight against it. It's going to be that horrible response where you're like, this is boring. This doesn't work. I'm not getting a result. When actually the inputs you have put in have been half fucking asked.
Can I interrupt you one question so I can ask you a question because I need you to explain this to me.
Do you?
Why is it when we will have a check-in or you ask an individual, how has your consistency been? If you can rate your consistency on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, how like a test, how has your consistency been? Some people will always will put 100%. So your assumption is 100%. And then when you look into the statistics or the data, the trends, like Georgia says, they put in 60%, but where is explain to me what that discrepancy is.
What the fuck are you talking about?
What
do you want me to say?
Well, like when somebody says to you, I'm super, super consistent, and then you look over the trends and they've only inputted 60% of it, how can
I'm coming back to the topic of what we're talking about today.
How can you assume that you are super adherent when in reality, the application that
because
you've
I'm saying
just
they're
given
doing
is 60%.
the action. Like a lot of people action the tools to be able to try and get a result. They'll action it, but they don't action it properly or efficiently or optimally, and then those tools don't work. So you give somebody the tool of tracking their food. And they utilise a tracking app to do so. They do the action of inputting their food, but they don't do it properly. They don't do it properly. Then they get to a point where they're like, I'm not seeing a return here, but I am utilising the tool. I'm doing the action. I have been consistent, but actually there's a massive discrepancy in consistency of actioning, implementing stuff, but actually doing it at 60%.
So opening the app, putting your breakfast in, and then fucking, do you know what I mean?
No, it's about the fact that like they could track it all.
Having a chocolate cake for lunch.
But for example, no, it's not necessarily that. Like there's the people that sporadically track that do stuff like that, but there's also the people that will significantly undereat on their calorie target because they think they're going to get a faster result. And it's like, do you know what you're doing here? Because the maths isn't adding up. And it's like, we've set you that target, eat that target, eat it, and I can literally put money on it. You're going to be number one adherent every single day because you're not going to have one day that's 800 calories more than the other, and the other one's shot down at 700 calories because you're eating like a toddler, you're going to put yourself in a position where you're then going to be seeing progress regularly because you can manage those inputs and outputs and you understand it exactly. But you can't,
So just ticking off. So the reason why those people assume that they're adherent is they've done the action regardless of how accurate.
Human behaviour, that is natural instinct in human behaviour. Like,
And then
if
you're
you
like, yeah, I
action
did it
something,
today.
you expect, like, for example, a lot of people will go to work, sit on their phone all day at work, scrolling on TikTok, and then they're like, oh, I've had a really hard day, I've been busy at work. And it's like, what world do you fucking live in? And you know what? Like, I'm such a reality check person. Like, that's why I probably have...
middle name.
I probably have a good report in the sense of how I coach people, because it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. And I'm going to do that because it's going to benefit, you're going to benefit from it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I need to tell you, reality check, like, that's not the case. But I just, look, going back to what we first started speaking about, the reality is that anything, you're going to make time, like we've said, to things that you like or you feel are a priority. And if you're somebody, I don't know, maybe you're like a mum, you might be a working mum, like good job, your husband works as well, you've maybe got 2 kids, like obviously the kids are going to come into play as the priority, do you know what I mean, number one, but there's also going to have to come to a point where like mum and dad need to think about priorities, you know what I mean, and are mum and dad being a bad image on the children, do you know what I mean, if they don't get their shit sorted and start showing some activity or them eating pretty well or educating themselves or, becoming smarter in that sense, like I think it's such a good role model to children, significantly, because I would say that a lot of parents are very unfortunately in our generation, the same as how we were brought in with the generation, my mum, like the diet culture is just so strong, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
the force
fucking
is too strong.
It's warped perceptions now on shit because again, we come round to the things of how many people read and don't action. So there's a lot of reading going on, a lot of talking and little action. So a lot of people know shit. Oh, I've read about that. Yeah. Did you know that the gut health of the buyer, it's like, fuck off. Where's that relevant in your life, But the reality is that we are birthing children into a world which has got a very warped perception on yourself on a day-to-day basis.
Sure.
The mental health is the worst it ever has been worldwide. There's all these things. So, you have to be very careful of the influence that you lay down. And, at the end of the day, like if you are somebody, mum, dad, this is when you write down literally with a fucking biro, get a bic out, do you know what I mean? Piece of paper, and you go, what is my priorities in a pyramid scale? Do you know what I mean? And you go, okay, the kids need to be looked after, but without healthy parents, how are we going to be up active on the weekend, moving with them? How are we going to be cooking for them when we're just ordering a takeaway pizza or a fucking, getting a quick sandwich around the corner because I can't be asked to cook and I don't know how to because I'm so erratic. And then, the parents have the audacity when the children grow up and start really dealing with shit to sort of be like, you're wrong to think that way. And I think this comes down to the fact, like, these priorities, again, like, they change throughout your life. They do. We don't have kids, but we help a lot of people that do have children. And time is one of the biggest things that parents struggle with. And that is totally and utterly understandable. You want to give all your time to doting on the child, which means there's less time for you. That's because people that are childless or with children have slightly different lifestyles, And so somebody like my lifestyle is very unrealistic for, a mum or dad, of 2 kids. But, let's not nullify the fact that come 10, 20 years' time, whether you like it or not of your parents, for example, that you're going to be looking after them at some point, do you know what I mean? And, you want your parents to be living a healthy, long life. And also you want to be an image to your children. And I just don't see that happening in the generation currently because it's so warped, And I've worked with so many mums that literally like feel like they're so shit because they just don't cook for the children. Like they either make a nanny do it or they'll go and buy like a fucking meal somewhere because they just don't know. And that all starts from the mum. Do you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day,
Very
like if you got more structure in your day, you would spend less time, you know, guesswork. Christ, what am I going to feed the children?
Yeah.
Fuck, I'm a bad mum. I haven't,
Yeah.
you know. And I say it
You'd
literally
also
is such
understand the macro importance of like putting together healthier meals, which if essentially are going to help not only the person applying them, but the entire family altogether, from the husband all the way down to the children, making sure that they're provided with adequate vitamins and minerals to sustain, you know, healthy development.
successfully say that there's probably eight. I would say not literally this. I can't say everyone, not 100%. I'd say 75 to 80% of the female clients from the age range of 35 to 65 that we have coached over the years, we within a year's span have then got on board their partner.
Yeah.
So that's a very common occurrence.
Yeah.
So there's always one that steps the way forward, do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
in paving the way. But again, like, you know, the image that you create is a representation of your organisation of needs and priorities, you know? And it doesn't change. Like, if you want to, for example, it's not that easy in this day and age, but I guess if you'll run your own business, maybe it's service or product orientated, if you try really hard, you could make more money, do you know what I mean? But if you don't, do you know what I mean, and you slack, you're not necessarily going to see the return, do you know what I mean? It's exactly the same on everything else.
In every aspect of your life, there has to be a prioritization of it, and making sure that your values and your actions match those priorities. And that's the thing, is like sometimes people want to lose weight, people want to see self progress, but you know, especially when it comes to the weekend, things go out the window. It's just blatantly obvious that your priorities are mixed up and your values and your actions don't match, you know, the goals that you're set out to do. And it's a very confronting experience, because again, you can have a different narrative, you can lie, you can say that you've done this and you've done that, but the process exposes individuals, exposes narratives, exposes priorities. It's a very self-reflective and very kind of...
Yeah, and I think actually,
you know what I mean?
I was speaking to a client about this the other day, and effectively it went sort of kind of like, it's a client who always wants a challenge. Okay, so always wants something to strive towards for a very short to long. If you're going to speak actual long-term sense, I'm thinking 5 years. So I'm going to say short-term, for a short-term goal. It's a constant challenge, do you know what I mean, to do stuff. And when you get to the challenge, you know, what's next? And like, I kept on saying, you know, I was thinking like, yeah, it's great. It's great to challenge yourself and to get to a position and to get to a goal. But actually, the biggest challenge that most people, like the client I was talking to, struggle with is consistency. That's the biggest challenge that anybody's going to face, because the only reason you're challenging yourself is because you need the purpose of doing something quite drastic. Do you know what I mean? And that's because you can't be consistent on the outer rim of it, so either side of the 6 month goal, do you know what I mean? So you've always got to go into those extremes to challenge yourself for 6 months, but actually the biggest challenge you are facing is consistency.
The biggest challenge in the world is consistency.
Oh my God, absolutely. In business, in
There's
fucking
nothing more
relationships,
challenging than consistency. There really is nothing on this earth that is more challenging than consistency.
Yeah, like for example, like I've got my downfalls on consistency of things, and Mark's definitely got his downfalls. Like certain elements of our consistency shines through, do you know what I mean? And certain elements also shines through, but not necessarily in the best way. Like, you know, we've all got downfalls as to where we prioritise.
And like,
you
consistency can be ugly. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the reality. Like, people, like, especially when it comes to like working out or going to the gym.
It's not
or
ugly. It's
no,
just
but like people
monotonous.
think that because you're consistent, let's say, taking the example, us going to the gym, they go to the gym all the time, they're super consistent. The assumption must be that, you know, that you're like skipping down the road, you know, absolutely frothing.
But I come back to the point, you can't say, like a human will say they're so consistent, but yet if put 60% of the application, you can go to the gym, it's what you do in the gym that's going to be like whether or not there's any benefit to you.
Yeah, but again, you can not necessarily be incredibly motivated on a consistent basis to be consistent. Do you know
Is
what I
that
mean?
like a tongue twister?
Like sometimes you're consistent because
Consistent.
you're just like you're dragging yourself through the art of being consistent, even though you're not highly motivated. Consistency doesn't necessarily need to revolve around motivation. Is what I'm
No,
trying to
but
say.
like, you know, we also have a very strong understanding that for some people that we work with, it's 1% of their day, and for other people it's literally 65% of their day. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes 70. God, literally, if you're managing what they're eating, you know, they're doing, what they're thinking, what they're moving, you know, it can be a large percentage of somebody's day.
Yeah,
But
huge.
you know, I think there's a lot of, you know, I don't have time is a very, very good excuse. The reality is that we don't have a lot of time on planet Earth, really.
No.
And like ones where you actually can really do something.
Yeah.
And, you know, you sometimes can be really ungrateful for that. Like I definitely am. I'm just, just another day, do you know what I mean? And actually, like, you just kind of wishing time away when actually, you know, it is getting harder now to have a fucking will to live, do you know what I mean? In the sense of when it gets dark and it's like, you know, if you're in the UK, you're like, what the fuck? Like, literally, like, it's time for bed and it's like 2 p.m. You know, it is hard to constantly rely on being motivated. You never are. But I always say that if you want accountability and you want to feel like you need to turn up to something, that's when you then hire somebody to organise that shit for you.
Outsource.
Do you know how many times clients have said to me, like, do you know what it is? It's like, I'm going to forget all the other benefits I've experienced. But the main benefit is you've just completely like unclutterfucked my life. Like you've literally given me a straight direct thing. I know what I'm doing when I'm coming here, which means I'm not wasting time. I know what I'm eating. I'm not wasting time. I know how to plan my shit, so I'm not wasting time.
True.
I know when to, I'm not wasting any fucking time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now they've actually got time, which is fucking amazing. Because now they could actually spend more time.
Counterproductive to the assumption
that you don't have time.
You don't have time. But it's like when you're scrolling Instagram looking for workout ideas, scrolling Instagram looking for recipe ideas, stressing about, is this going to work? Is this not going to work?
So I said to a client the other day, like, you know, like, look, you can afford it, do you know what I mean? Buy a fucking walking pad, like, for the Christ's sake, do you know what I mean? You keep on telling me that you can't get more than, like, 2,000 steps in because you're so busy, do you know what I mean? Which what are you busy on if you can only get 2,000 steps a day? Literally sat down all day if you're remote working, probs. But she was actually in the office. I said, you buy a walking pad, you're going to put it in front of your TV because you've just told me you go home and you sit on the sofa and watch TV. So I was like, there's your thing. I was like, you have to do it because you keep on fighting against it. You know, you're not seeing the progress you need to see. Do you know what I mean? And this is your biggest anomaly, you know? And you need to address it. So that's how you're going to address it. And she was like, actually, that's a really good space of time because I do get really bored and annoyed that I just scroll on my phone whilst I'm watching the TV, you know, whilst my husband's there. So she's now started walking. And I think it's this whole thing where it's like, now she's up to steps, she feels good, and it's getting to a routine, and it's really not that fucking hard. But again, it's a matter of priorities, time management.
Oh, it was so good when we had a treadmill in
What
the
the
whole
fuck are you
gym
talking
next
about?
door. Remember?
You've got a walking pad literally right there.
I
It's
don't
just
know if
too
I can-
heavy for it.
I'm too heavy.
No,
for
maybe
it.
not now. Maybe not.
Yeah, true. I have lost quite a bit of weight. Sorry, I might
The
sound
rubber
a
ring.
bit. Georgia.
No, okay, but that's a story behind the rubber ring. Because one of my best friend's ex-boyfriends, like, when their relationship started, like, going downhill, because he was a massive bellend, he started rapidly gaining, like, he was like a boozer and loved all the cocaine, and it was like that like lads lifestyle, which was just like banking and whatnot. And she was like, I've had enough of this. And he started gaining weight, and she was like, it's literally just like making me retch inside because it's like a rubber ring around his hips. And I was just like, ever since then, I was like, the rubber ring. Men statistically have more rubber rings than
we
women.
got more rubber rings,
Like, I think, you know, the element when you know you need to do something about your shit, and I always remember this myself, when you start having like a fat roll in between the jeans and the button, that's when I know, that was when I was like, this is just this is too much now. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you need to lose some weight. You know what I mean? Where it's like a stomach inside of a jean with a button stomach press.
No,
Like, you just know, you're just like,
relate to
that's
that,
not a
I'm sorry.
vibe. Like, how have I got, this is just not okay. I look like Winnie the Pooh, do you know what I mean? Well, not actually, you don't even look like Winnie the Pooh, you look worse than Winnie the Pooh, because it's like a double fucking tuck and roll.
Yeah, I can't relate.
You've never
to that,
been
I'm
there,
sorry,
no?
So
Fuck, I just remember that in the jeans, and you'd see it, like, I'd wear, like, a lighter colour pair of jeans, and you just see, like, the line of, like, it's, like, over the fanny flaps, do you know what I mean?
don't they call that a fupa?
Fat upper pussy area?
I think so. Yeah.
No. Fat fupa.
Fupa.
Fat upper pussy.
Up. I don't think it's pussy. I don't think I don't think the.
Fupa.
I don't
I'm
think
just
the
googling
word.
it whilst we're on here.
I
Oh,
don't-
fatty upper pubic areas.
Fat upper pussy.
Did people actually
fupa.
refer to it as that? I would never refer to that as like, because it
Fupa.
actually
Am I
okay.
right,
So a
though?
lot of people that refer to it like this are cosmetic
Fupa.
surgeons, obviously.
Obviously.
Because obviously, like fucking, let's
wanna
just tummy
chop
tuck
it.
the shit
Yeah,
out of
I
you
wanna
whilst you
chop it
don't
off
change
you.
any of your healthy
Let
habits.
me, yeah. We'll staple it. We'll staple you like an A4 piece of paper.
Do you know what I saw the other day? Like, I had to unfollow her. Like, she's a fashion influencer that I follow. Not really influencer, she's a personal shopper. I just love seeing what she buys for, like, wealthy clients. Like, literally,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, nice handbag. I'll look at that. And she was like, she's had, like, loads of cosmetic surgery, but for, like, weight loss, because she's just fucking lazy. But she's a slim, do you know what I mean, blonde, like, woman who, like, she just is fucking lazy. Do you know what I mean? There's no other way to describe it. And she did this whole thing of, like, people were like, why did you have, like, a full tummy tuck? Like, you know,
The
like, you could have.
sculpted abs,
She's like, I
yeah.
tried going to the gym, nothing worked. My gut health was so terrible, so I had a tummy tuck. I was like, your gut health was terrible, so you had a tummy tuck. Like, what? And I was like, you're so lazy. Like, literally, you are literally in a position of actually quite a good position where you're a slim woman, do you know what I mean, who's just needs to probably go and lift some weights and manage what you shove in your mouth. You're going to fucking whatever the fuck in Dubai for like a meal out, do you know what I mean, whilst you stuff yourself full of like creamed fucking sushi
Yeah,
and like
truffle
a
mac and
Cristal
cheese.
truffle mac and cheese, the side of chocolate brownie.
Yeah, and then wonder why you wake up the next morning.
And then, like, when
wanna
you go to
shit
the gym and
yourself.
try and do Les Mills and you think it doesn't work, do you know what I
And
mean?
you're like-
Honestly.
and you're like, I really need to shit myself. And then you're like doing HIIT.
I do get annoyed when people have surgery when they really don't need it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
like you will only
I
notice.
kind of get it. Because again, like, we got to take like a pie chart, right? We take the whole human population. There is going to be a percentage of that population that hate exercise, hate going to the gym. So
I've dealt
we've
with
gotta
so many clients that hate
We've
it.
got to take that into consideration and realize that those people are going to utilize modern medicine and have cosmetic surgery because they just can't be asked. So we've got to respect that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, look, like,
It's not the way that we would do it. And again, if you're not addressing the underlying factors of why you potentially need a tummy tuck or why you need a gastric band or why you need a knee
do
replacement.
you know what? And also, for
or why
Christ's
you need
sake,
your
actually,
hips replaced. Like, there's a reason why that is, and it's not, you know, for example, oh, you need a knee replacement or a hip replacement because you got a bone spur. Well, why do you have a bone spur in the first place? Let's address that than just chopping you open.
yeah, but I know, but with cosmetic surgery, I think it comes down like gastric. You know, there's so many drawbacks to these surgeries, which is like once you've got it done, like don't think it's going to be like you're bouncing from the walls in your little
Oh,
Zara dress.
no.
Like, you know, you're
Oh,
not.
no,
Like, you've completely and utterly like changed the whole.
I remember when working for the Saudi royal family, 4 of the members had gastric bands, and watching the literal aftermath of that was borderline horrifying, where they'd just come out the procedure, they weren't able to drink water because the band was so tight that it wasn't allowing them to let any liquids or solids into their system. Do you know what I mean? Where their teeth started to rot because they weren't able to digest and utilize food properly. Their breath started to stink. Do you know what I mean? It's not all
But
just
it's also
like,
not even like aftermath. It's like what happens, like, you know, actually in day-to-day life,
Yeah,
where
it
you
was
can
a
never,
train
ever,
wreck.
ever eat a full meal ever again.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's,
and
like,
then you had
probably
to
one
go
of the
back
main
and
things.
keep on doing it because then the band naturally
And
you know,
let's just go back to
relaxers.
let's go back to the round as to
Do you know
like
what I
why
mean?
somebody
That's-
had that. It's because they were too lazy. Because a lot of
Yeah.
those people that we have trained previously, it's like trying to pull again the enthusiasm. They are always going to hate exercise. That was the type of it's
Do you remember the lady with like the rock hard six pack? That was just so visually like out of place compared to the rest of
Yeah.
her body, and she would like take her top like in a crop top and just have
like stacked abs and it was
oh
all
my
lipo
God,
and it was just like,
it
but you know when it's lipo
was
because
like
if you
a
touch an
mixture of
ab,
lipo and
if you
like
touch
plastic.
actual abs, like because I train my core a lot, and if you actually build abs, they're like quite blocky a lot of the time, like, and they're like it's hard, it's
No,
meant to be hard.
those were like
And these
a
were like
plastic
putting in
mold
like yeah,
like
pushing your hand into like fucking just
imagine an ice cube tray upside down and then like surgically
Yeah.
like stuck under your skin with like it was bizarre. It
because
was
and
the
also like if you're
weirdest.
going to have abs like that, naturally you're also potentially going to have
You're gonna be
muscle mass
lean
or lean everywhere else, and it just like didn't look right. But like I used to have a client who had, and she always said like I would always advise women never ever ever have it, but she had lipo on her legs, and like literally it was like, and then she gained a lot of weight, obviously, since after the lipo, and didn't obviously that she didn't know what the benefits were, and she had like effectively like full on like lines with like roll over like, and it was like
it
skin
was a
that had got, and she said it was the worst. She now can't get rid of it unless she has like all cuts, and she's like, I'm not going to do it again. But it is like kind of horrific how many people will do that because they just they don't have time. Like when people go and have a butt lift, for fuck's sake, it's because you
Yeah.
don't have time to literally go through
Yeah.
doing what I
But
do,
you- but
which
you-
is fucking hard.
But you do have time to not to like go for a butt lift
And sit in bed. Or not
and then
sit in
get
bed, you'll be lying on your
for
front after a butt
or
lift.
just whatever, like go for some cosmetic surgery or something and be out of the game for weeks on end, and then yet you don't have time to dedicate literally 2% of your day just to like. You don't even have to do it every single day. You can do it 3 times a week.
Like I know people who
Come
have like
on.
literally would purposely get injured or like be ill just so they just like could just give up, like like and just like not do anything. They're just like another excuse.
Well, I
Like
get-
for the last
like, I
6
kind
weeks,
of
I've had
get that.
technically a broken baby toe.
You are literally.
And you wouldn't fucking know that, would you? Because I've just been getting on with it. Do you know what I mean? And I got a broken baby toe because I stabbed my toe so hard. But a lot of people would be like, sorry, I can't train my lower body. I can't go to the gym.
Yeah.
I don't have, like, I've got to
It's
rest
so
it. It's so painful.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know what? You either work around it or you regret it. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? You either sit there and be annoyed with yourself. And it's the same as like when you come off from holidays as well. Like, we came on holiday, we just slide back in because on holiday we trained,
Yeah.
we ate, didn't eat like a dickhead.
I really don't
know,
understand how people can go away and come back
It's
like a
alcohol.
stone heavier.
It's
I really
alcohol.
don't understand.
When people are like, you're so insane to exercise on holiday. I'm like, so insane not to exercise on
Yeah.
holiday.
you
like-
you got copious amounts of free time, like the most free time you have compared to when you're not on holiday. Yet it should be the perfect time for you to exercise, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know, but it's also the fact of like, yeah, okay, like meals are like tricky when you're on holiday, depending on where you
Yeah,
are.
they were.
But like, you don't have to then go and do like, this is what I mean. People set themselves up for absolute complete failure. Why aren't we listening to a complete conversation about, oh, it was on Gogglebox and it was a couple talking about booking a cruise, and she was like, but if we shouldn't, no, Steve, we shouldn't book the all-in, the all-inclusive one,
package.
the drinks package, because, they allow 16 drinks as, per day,
Yeah.
per thing. She said, I know we'll drink all of
Yeah,
that.
if
And I
I'm
thought,
paying for
fucking
16
hell.
drinks, I'm drinking
them-
16 drinks.
16 drinks a day.
16
Alcoholic
and they
drinks.
water them
And
down, but
that must be normal for people.
you'd be
Like,
I'd be literally catatonic.
that's how you come back fucking a stone heavier and sad. Like,
Yeah, obviously, because then you're just so hungover every day that you do like 200 steps.
But like I consulted with a client yesterday where like she was like, oh, I've been in LA for 5 weeks and I have gained half a stone and I want in the next 3 weeks to have lost that. And I just looked at her and I was like, okay, so when do you go away next? She was like, in January. And I said, okay, so you're going to put the half a
But
stone back
again,
on, and then what we're going to do after that?
To be fair,
or
then I guess people assume that because, again, you can put on weight really quickly, the assumption is if
That
it
you
comes
can
on
lose it.
quickly, it should be able to come off quickly. which unfortunately
No,
is
because
not
the action of eating outweighs the fucking, or like not moving. Like, you know, at the end of the day, like, I don't know. But it's one of these things. It's like, Jesus, you can't always, you spend half your year, do you know what I mean? Going round in circles sporadically. You spend half a year putting yourself into these horrible, like, 5-2, or I'm just going to be miserable for 2 days, or a fucking this, I'm going to starve myself, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to start tracking. I'm going to track for 2 weeks, do you know what I mean? At like a really low number, just to be a bit of a dickhead.
Calories.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and then I'll just fucking get annoyed, give up, pile on more weight, and then, we'll go again, do you know what I mean? The cycle continues, and you'll never realise, do you know what I mean? Like, how do I get a long-term result? Sit back, think. And it's just these things.
But like
you
said the other day, that because some people have some people have seen progress, but again, the chances of you seeing progress and then rebounding statistically is 80%. So eight out of 10 people have seen progress.
Yeah, when they were like 50.
Not seeing progress, become disheartened. So it's almost hard for them to visualize it being any different, because
you can't use that as an excuse though.
Do you know what I mean? How many times have people been like, this doesn't work? I'm like, it fucking works. Everything works. Like, it does work. It's just you're incapable of acknowledging, you're incapable of even being conscious that
we have had clients that literally just outright lie on, like, just like, as I said, like, lie and like, so where we're like, wait, you must be a fucking genetic anomaly. Christ, we'll put you in a lab. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I feel like you're such a rare human that I feel like we should actually be studying you, because if it's this,
you're 1 in 8 billion.
8 billion that
you literally need to hand yourself into science, and
because you're absolutely like something out of this world, you know.
You're the first of the new generation of genetically modified modern humans.
This brings me back to when I was a child, where there's always a very funny story here about when I was desperate for glasses because I thought they'd make me look more intelligent. And so I went to the opticians. I forced my mum, because I just wanted a cool pair of glasses. That was just the reality. I wanted a cool pair of glasses. And I'd set my sights on the glasses, and I was like, I have to be able to get these. So I went into whatever Specsavers it was, the opticians, and they sat me down and they did all the eye tests, and I just effectively pretended that I couldn't see anything, like actually anything, not even the ones that were like B, like literally in front of your face. Like, I was like, no, I can't see it. And the woman like literally rushed out to my mum in the waiting room, was like, we need to get her to the NHS because I think she's blind. And I was like that, oh shit, I didn't realise that. I didn't realise it was that serious, fuck, like literally, and you're like, oh my God. So no, I think I can see it now. Yeah, that's BK5, like literally. And that we always learn. Do you know what I mean? Exactly the same as when my dad said to me when I was younger.
Yeah, Carol. She used to. If she thought I was lying, she knew that I was scared of needles. So she would take you to the doctor and just encourage them to just inject you with anything, just to see how bad it was.
Why?
Because sometimes you lie.
Well, but there's a lot of people that
let's
do
see how sick you really are. Let's go to the doctor and see if she'll give you an injection or something. And I used to be like, no, I'm fine, thanks.
Oh, yeah,
well,
like,
then you're not that sick, are you?
No, like, there was a girl from, like, a school I went to that I was told the other day, like, literally had talked herself into, like, having, like, a fucking knee problem, to the point where literally the surgeon cut it open to try and prove a point and say, like, there's nothing wrong with your fucking knee. Yeah. Like, you don't need time off work. Like, you need to go back to work and realise that you're just being a sloth. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you need to do something with your life. Yeah. And you can't just say that you've got a knee problem at age 30, do you know what I mean? And classify that as, like a long...
Munchausen syndrome.
You used to have a client like that.
Not a client. I did have a client like that, but then my brother's ex-wife was...
Oh, God, yeah, with your... that's really... Christ. That's a very interesting thing where you completely tapped, like, actual tapped. But no, I mean, like, my dad... I mean, again, like, when my dad said to me, it's okay when you're in job interviews, when you're younger, to a little white lie to accentuate yourself. You know, sometimes you need to stand out in the crowd and make sure you're there. But he was like, but don't, just a little, like, white lie. And there was me, like, I'm like this. Yeah, I'm a complete whiz on Excel. In fact, I do it in my spare time. Yeah. Excel was actually in my dream the first day. Right, that's what you got with Excel. And I literally was like, oh, my fucking God, I have no idea how to work Excel. Like, literally, and I was like, this is going to catch up with you. Karma always comes back round.
Yeah,
like, literally.
You got to learn.
So say exactly the same with the weight loss journey.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to say that even those that have struggled to have any kind of adherence or consistency or to get a result, they've learned something.
That is true.
So anyway, we're going to wrap up today. God, I hate saying that.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up, strap it up, be
Strap it
safe,
up,
kids.
Don't be silly.
Be childless.
Yeah, wear a Johnny.
Mark, for fuck's sake, we were all doing the words about everything to do with that without saying it. Do you know what I mean? And then you
Wrap
just
it up.
wrap it up, tap it, bash it, bop it.
I've got a very inappropriate joke.
No.
It's really inappropriate.
Yeah, okay, well, is it really okay to end the podcast on? No,
I don't
okay.
think so. I think
Okay,
we
well.
get really cancelled.
You get cancelled. Okay.
But it is very funny.
Anyway, we will speak to you soon next week. Have a good week. We hope you enjoyed.
Bye.
Bye.